Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Grow Folds, and today we will be potting up my overseas Aglaonema that I received from GreenspacesID using classy rabbit soil. So I will tell you all about how to acclimate my Aglaonema or any plants that you receive from overseas. GreenspacesID is actually a nursery out in Indonesia, and the soil I'm using today is from Classy Rabbit. So please make sure you guys are shopping classyrabbit.com. It is a local business out in McKinney, Texas. I love this soil. You know, I used to just put a lot of my plants in semi-hydroponic substrates like Lechuza Pond and Leca, but now I have gone back to using soil substrates, and Classy Rabbit soil is my go-to soil. Again, it is 100% naturally sourced. It is created by farmers, so they don't use like soil scientists or whatever that means. This soil is really good about actually establishing the roots of your plants. And whenever you're dealing with overseas plants, you know, plants that are imported, there is a lot of stress that's placed upon the plant. So using Classy Rabbit soil, where you have a lot of natural mycorrhizae that help develop the plant's roots and really establish it, is what's necessary. I am using beautiful terracotta planters. These are the modern ones that I bought from Walmart as well as Target, and these are the ones that I'm going to be using to pot up my Aglaonema. The reason being is I like using terracotta planters because they don't hold as much moisture, and what I've learned about Aglaonema is they don't really like to be on the wet side. They like to be more so on the drier side, which means Classy Rabbit soil plus terracotta planters is a really good combination in which I'm going to plant my Aglaonema. So today's video is the thought process of actually potting up imported overseas plants that I have actually had hydrating for about 4 days in nutrient solution water. And so you can see these are all of the ingredients and supplies that I will use to pot up my Aglaonema. For those that are new to the channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. Welcome, my name is Richie. I typically do big box or plant shopping videos, but today is a relaxing plant chores video where I will pot up some plants. I know that you guys have asked for a little bit different content, and I felt like it was really important to showcase how to take care of plants from overseas, especially with PlantCon 2025 Houston coming around the corner. If you're dealing with international vendors, you're going to find plants that are going to need to be acclimated, and you're going to have to make sure that you're following a specific process. Again, I have been shopping GreenspacesID for about a year now, so please go to the website GreenspacesID if you are interested in some hard to find plants at really cost-effective plant pricing. So the first step obviously is to get a bag of Classy Rabbit soil. You know, people will ask me why I like Classy Rabbit soil so much. To me, it has just really worked out in establishing the roots for my plants. I've seen really good success with my overseas plants, especially from GreenspacesID. So what I usually do is just take some terracotta planter, I put a little bit of the soil down there, and then I will actually rinse the roots of the Aglaonema in just regular water to just make sure that it is nice and clean before I actually pot it up. And the first one I'm going to be potting up is the Aglaonema Light of Dream. So it's different from the Light of Diamond. You can see there's not nearly as many roots in this plant, and that's the reason why I'm actually potting it up in a 4-inch modern terracotta planter. And you know, I'm actually confident that this plant will establish. I'm literally potting it further down into the pot because I want to make it less leggy. You know, the only thing about Aglaonema is when they go through stress, they actually lose some of their leaves. So planting it further down into the pot is really going to help it become less leggy aesthetically, at least the look of it. Now with Classy Rabbit soil, you know, the ingredients that I really enjoy in this soil mixture is number 1, the rice hull, which has a lot of silica in it. Number 2, the pumice. And then number 3, I really love the natural mycorrhizae and obviously the rabbit manure, which is really going to give it a boost of energy for the plant. That's really why I like using Classy Rabbit, is just because of the soil. The soil really does help establish the roots, and that's what you need. Now, today's video, I will be adding some diatomaceous earth into the surface of the actual soil. So the thing about naturally sourced soils is you want to make sure that you are maintaining the mycorrhizae. So I don't really want to use any systemic granules or any kind of poisons to alleviate any type of plant pest. Instead, I will be using diatomaceous earth, which is basically just a little powder that will actually prevent like fungus gnats and any types of pests from really growing in the soil, because it will literally just cut the actual insects up or the pest up. I know that sounds really violent, but that is one natural way to do it. So I mean, for the most part, I would say Classy Rabbit soil is a very complete soil, but I did want to just add a little bit of diatomaceous soil, so that way, I mean diatomaceous earth, so that way if there are any potential fungus gnats that want to lay their eggs, the larvae are not going to be able to survive because of that surface level. So that's just a little additive that I will put in today's video. You can see this is the next one right here, the Aglaonema Red Army. Now this is the one that GreenspacesID actually resent, because the first one that they sent me really did not do well. And so the good thing about, you know, getting plants from GreenspacesID is, number one, they have a very detailed website. They've got hundreds of reviews. There's a lot of unboxing videos and reviews from many content creators. So that's always a plus. You know, in my previous video where I did an unboxing for GreenspacesID of these plants, the one thing I mentioned about, you know, really delving into getting plants from overseas is you want to find a very trustworthy seller. So whether it's GreenspacesID, for instance, or another overseas seller, you want to make sure that you're vetting them out. You're looking at the reviews. You're looking to see if there are videos or unboxing videos, because there is the potential of possibly running into a seller that may not have the best intentions. There are some, you know, some horror stories out there. And, you know, for me, I had to really do a lot of research before placing an order with GreenspacesID. I remember them actually reaching out to me directly on my Instagram. So if you haven't already followed my Instagram account, it is at GrowFolds. You can send me a direct message. I typically respond fairly quickly unless I feel like you are being shady or there is something sketch about your messages. And, you know, just like how you look at GreenspacesID and vet out overseas vendors, whenever you're interacting with anybody online, be sure to check their profile. If they have very few followers, if they're following a lot of like bots or just spammy type accounts, that is, you know, tail signs that this is an Instagram account or a profile you may not necessarily really want to interact with. So just, you know, just caution on that. But as you can see right here, plant foldies, I am just potting up my beautiful Aglaonema. This is my favorite one of the haul. This is the Aglaonema Lotus Delight. I mean, look at it. It doesn't even look like a real plant. And I got it for such a great price from GreenspacesID. This Aglaonema used to cost like $600, $700 about 3 to 4 years ago. And now it is at an affordable price. And you can just see right here, I'm just making sure to get the soil in and actually kind of slap the pot a little bit, making sure that the air pockets are not there. And that's basically it in terms of just potting up these Aglaonema. One thing I did also want to mention is whenever you're getting plants from overseas, you want to make sure that you are acclimating them in a sense that you are rehydrating the plant. So if you saw in my previous video, you can see that number one, they actually have to go through a drying process. They're in sphagnum moss. They go, you know, these plants actually traveled from Indonesia to New Jersey, which is actually where the broker is, and then they ship it to, you know, your doorstep. But traveling 10,000 miles in a box where you're not getting ample amount of light. You got to think that these plants were uprooted from a soil substrate and then taken out of a hot, humid environment. There's just a lot of stress that comes through with the plants. And so it's very important to be very cautious about your overseas imported plants. Luckily for me, I just know that I've had the experience to take care of these plants. So the acclimation process is very much critical. So I would always say, once you unbox your plants from overseas, you want to make sure that the roots are viable. So if the roots are viable in a sense that they're not mushy, they're not brown, then it's good to go in terms of potentially potting them up within like 72 hours or a week. Now, all of my Aglaonema have been sitting in nutrient solution water, rehydrating, which is very critical. I always tell people, if you unbox a plant that was from overseas, you definitely do not want to actually just pot it up that same day. You want to let them at least sit in nutrient solution water for at least 48 hours, maybe 72 hours, or maybe even a week or two, just depending on the root system. Now, when you ask me what my nutrient solution water is, it's basically I use Super Thrive and Protect Silica solution. The Protect Silica solution actually helps with the plant cells to make them more durable, and then the Super Thrive has a B vitamin that really helps reinvigorate the plant, really de-stresses the plant, and that's what you need. I mean, you can see right over here, this particular plant, for instance, has one leaf that's yellowing. I will assume that this leaf will eventually go to plant heaven, and that's another point I wanted to mention in this video. A lot of people will just assume or have unrealistic expectations when it comes to plants from overseas. Know that your plants from overseas will not always ship 100% because of the amount of stress the plant goes through, the process in which to prepare the plant to be made sure that it's pest free. And there's just a lot that goes on for the plant. So it is natural for a couple of leaves for them to just die off. It is natural for maybe the roots to look a little dehydrated. It is also natural for the plant to decline in its health when you first pot it up and then eventually regrow and reacclimate. It's just part of the process. I would say give yourself at least a minimum of 4 weeks to 3 months to really see the plant acclimate. Now, some plants from overseas may not always make it. Sometimes the stress isn't there, is just too much for the plant. Maybe your environment is not necessarily the best conditions for the plant. And that's another thing I would say. I always encourage anybody, if you're going to try to get plants from overseas, specifically Aglaonema, because you already know that Aglaonema are not as popular or readily available in the United States, which is where I'm based at. But if you want inexpensive, cost-effective plants that are hard to find, you can definitely find an international vendor like GreenspacesID. Definitely check out their website and also follow them on Instagram. I love the fact that I am able to interact with their customer service through Instagram messaging. They are typically very quick to respond. And I did want to shout out Angit, the person that has been helping me with this order. Now, in terms of how long it takes for a GreenspacesID shipment, it takes about 4 weeks because it does take a while for the phytosanitary certificate to be produced by the nursery, as well as since it's, I think, air cargo, there are just specific shipment dates. So, whenever you're buying plants from overseas, typically it takes about 4 weeks. Now, travel time for this plant would only take about, I would say, a week in the mail. So it's not like it's sitting in a box for like weeks after weeks, especially with GreenspacesID, because they use air cargo. They have a broker. So in the sense that these plants are not necessarily needing an import license, because a broker is the one importing the plant, and they're the ones that are taking care of the taxes, any clearance that needs to happen with the plant. So, if you don't want to delve into having to get an import license, you can go the route of finding a seller such as GreenspacesID that goes through a broker. So I wanted to put that out there for anybody that was interested in importing plants, or not necessarily importing plants, getting plants from overseas is a better term for it. So that way, in terms of like the liabilities of the seller, you don't have to worry so much about it, because the broker is the one that takes care of these plants. Now you can see right over here that it's pretty easy to pot up these plants. Like I said, again, I like to use terracotta planters. Some people have asked why, and it's because it doesn't hold nearly as much moisture. And I feel like with Aglaonema, as I've learned and really studied Aglaonema, they prefer drier conditions. They don't really want to stay wet for too long. Actually overwatering them or putting them in really high humid environments actually encourages mildew and fungus on the plant. And that's one thing that can actually be a deal breaker, or one that will send your Aglaonema to plant heaven. When you start seeing like gooey brown leaves, that's really the mildew fungus. You want to get rid of that quickly and make sure that you are spraying your Aglaonema with like a diluted hydrogen peroxide spray, just so you can disinfect it and make sure that that fungus or mildew doesn't spread across the plants. But you can see right here, super healthy plants that we have from GreenspacesID, and the combination of using Classy Rabbit soil is amazing. Now, if you're watching this video before PlantCon 2025 in Houston, which will be May 31st, June 1st, 2025, you can place a pre-order for pickup at Houston PlantCon at classyrabbit.com, where if you use the promo code PlantCon, you will be entered to win a 1-year free supply of Classy Rabbit soil. I went ahead and bought 2 bags of soil for a pickup at PlantCon. So super excited about that. You never know, I may end up winning a year's supply of Classy Rabbit soil, which would come in handy because I am anticipating getting even more Aglaonemas. For those that continue to tune into my videos, I really appreciate it. I just feel like it's very important to give you guys my personal experiences when it comes to growing Aglaonemas, but also just acquiring plants from overseas. It is a more cost-effective way of getting plants that are hard to find. Unfortunately, Aglaonema, they're not necessarily a popular plant. I encourage any of the plant foldies that are getting into Aglaonema, send me a direct message, ask me any questions. If you're interested in actually getting plants from GreenspacesID, you can always send me a direct message. I can connect you with their customer service. And the great thing about it is every single Aglaonema that I'm potting up today, I actually got videos and pictures of the actual plant. That is how great GreenspacesID is because they're able to give me some real pictures of the plant. That's another thing I would say. There are many international vendors, but the more communication you get from the vendors, the more reviews and just the more history. I would ask questions for any random vendors that might necessarily actually reach out to you. I know that I've had several since I've actually posted some GreenspacesID unboxing videos, but what I like to ask is ask how long they've been in business, where they've shipped, what their process is, etc., etc. Ask many questions because you really have to vet out these sellers. And that's the same thing with any online sellers that you get from the United States. I mean, if you're wanting to buy a plant, say on Etsy, you really want to look at the reviews, but not necessarily just look at the reviews. Look at who is reviewing, make sure that they're actual real people and not just dummy profiles or fake accounts that just created reviews. And I'm very blunt when it comes to that because we've seen a lot of people get scammed. The great thing about it is you can see that GreenspacesID has a very good reputation when it comes to people buying plants all around the world. They are able to ship pretty much anywhere in the world, which I think is amazing. And you can just see right here, very simple potting up video here. So I'm just going to continue to use my Classy Rabbit soil. Again, I absolutely love it. I just love the fact that it's fast draining, it's chunky, it's a complete soil, and it is produced by a local business here. And you can see right here, I am adding that diatomaceous earth to the surface just to make sure that there is a layer where if there are going to be any potential plant pests like fungus gnats, they're not going to last very long. So let's continue to just pot up these Aglaonema. If you haven't already, please make sure you are pressing the thumbs up or like button for this video. It definitely helps push this content out to more plant lovers like yourself. And if you are interested in getting even more updates of my Aglaonema and personal plants, you can always join my YouTube membership tier, which is called the Super Plant Foldies. It is only for $2.99, and we're hoping that more people will join it. That is where you will see most of my personal plants. I just recently did a 12-day update of some of my other plants that I received from Art Garden Flowers, another Indonesian vendor. And after close to 2 weeks, my Aglaonema are still doing amazing. So I will be doing another update with these Aglaonema from GreenspacesID, but that will be more in-depth, and it will only be available on the YouTube membership tier. If you want to join it, if you're watching my video on a computer, you can hit the join button. If not, you can also join by clicking the link that is pinned in the comment section. Anyways, you can see right here, all of these Aglaonema are doing extremely well. Again, these Aglaonema have been sitting in nutrient water for about 4 days. There are like maybe 1 or 2 yellow leaves on some of them, which will eventually have to either fall off or I will take them off of the plant. But again, I just want to make sure that it is normal. You know, some people panic when they start seeing yellow leaves. It is normal, especially when it comes to plants from overseas. That's the only thing about overseas plants that's a slight drawback, is there is a little bit more care and time that is required, a little bit more patience, because you're going to have to reacclimate these plants. You really have to wait for these plants to reestablish in their new environment. But let me go ahead and stop talking and just pot up these plants. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and enjoy the relaxing ASMR sounds from then on. Also wanted to point out that whenever you're potting up plants from overseas, just like any other plants, make sure that the pot size is appropriate. So for instance, this Aglaonema hang hang, it is a little bit of a smaller Aglaonema, so I'm potting it up in a 3.5-inch modern terracotta planter that I bought for 40% off actually at Target. So I really got a good Target deal. You know, whenever you go to big box stores, again, you'll always find ways to save money. And, you know, I happen to hit the jackpot by finding some modern terracotta planters even at Target. Really love the fact that it was only 40% off. But you can see right here, you want to make sure that the soil and the size of the pot are appropriate for the root system of the plant. So for instance, if I were to pot this up in a larger pot, it wouldn't be the best environment because there would be too much soil, and too much soil that holds too much moisture could actually root rot the plant. That's one thing that is prevalent with Aglaonema is root rot, because they tend to like to be more so on the drier side. So whenever you talk about an easy to care for plant, just know that, you know, Aglaonema are drought tolerant and low light tolerant, which makes them an even easier plant to take care of. So for those that like to overwater Aglaonemas, please don't do that. Wait till the soil is completely dry. Let it even stay dry for another week or so, and you will still be fine in terms of keeping the Aglaonema. Like I said, again, it is all about keeping them a little bit more on the drier side. And you'll notice plant foldies that I am using leca balls at the very bottom and putting a little bit of orchid bark. It's not that Classy Rabbit soil is not a fast draining soil. It's just that I only have about 2 bags of Classy Rabbit soil, and I want to stretch it out a little bit. So I'm using a little other soil amendments at the bottom at least to stretch out my Classy Rabbit soil. You know, Classy Rabbit soil is a high quality soil. It's not cheap. It does not have cheap ingredients. Therefore, some people might say it's a little pricey. I think that you're paying for the quality of the soil, because you can actually go for more cheaper soils, but cheaper soils will also not give you the best results for your plants. I always encourage anybody that are, you know, planting up plants that are especially from overseas that have dealt with a lot of stress, to get high quality soil that it's definitely gonna actually establish the roots and just give it a really good environment. And again, if you don't know what mycorrhizae is, it's basically that beneficial bacteria that's gonna help the roots take up nutrients from the soil. You know, obviously with the rabbit manure here, it's gonna definitely feed the plant. And you know, some people ask, does Classy Rabbit's soil smell like poop? No, but if you actually look at the ingredients, it does have rabbit poop, but it does not smell like poop. So it's a good thing. And I always tell people, you know, or at least ask, have you pooped on your plants today? If you haven't, you definitely want to poop on your plants with Classy Rabbit soil. Another thing I would say about Classy Rabbit soil, if you look on the website, is that they have soil conditioner, which is basically that rabbit manure that you can put. And I think some more beneficial mycorrhizae. I know I keep mentioning mycorrhizae, but that is something that is super beneficial for your plants. So hopefully, plant foldies, you guys are learning a little bit more insights about why I use Classy Rabbit soil, why it's imperative to be mindful of what kind of planters you use for your plants. You know, essentially, I used to pot up all of my Aglaonema in semi-hydroponic substrates like Lechuza Pond and Leca, but what I found is some of the Aglaonema actually don't make the transition from semi-hydroponic substrates. They end up just getting mushy, and they just go to plant heaven, versus putting them in a soil substrate that is chunky, that is natural, that is fast draining like Classy Rabbit soil. So anybody that gets plants from overseas, if anything, you know, you can take my word for it or not, but I would recommend using Classy Rabbit soil. You can definitely buy that on classyrabbit.com. They do offer free shipping, but you can see over here, plant foldies, just having a ball, potting up my Aglaonema, and you can see after 4 days in nutrient water, they're doing fine. And like I said again, depending on the amount of roots that the plant has, I like to pot them in smaller pots. Therefore, I don't have to use so much soil. I'll let the actual roots grow out, and if I have to repot them, I'm okay. That's another thing about Aglaonema, is that they tend to like to be a little bit more root bound. It's okay to have them a little bit more root bound, because they will grow little baby pups that you can propagate. This is an Aglaonema peacock merit. Look at all of the roots there. This is a jumbo one, so I'm actually potting it up in an 8-inch plastic planter because I didn't really have a big terracotta planter for this one. So I just want to make sure that I put a little bit more orchid bark on the bottom and then just pot it up with the rest of the classy rabbit soil that I have. One tidbit about the peacock merit Aglaonema, it is actually hybridized by a Filipino American by the name of Sir Clay. He actually owns a nursery called the Valcaria Gardens in Florida. I happened to meet him at PlantCon 2025 in Orlando, Florida. It was an honor to meet him, and I just can't believe that his hybrid Aglaonema made it all the way to Indonesia and then was sent to me from Indonesia to North Dallas, Texas. So I thought that was really interesting. This is one of my favorite Aglaonema. This is my second one from GreenspacesID. But you can see again, whenever you're potting up plants, make sure that you are being careful not to pat the soil down too much so you don't break the roots. And then also just hitting the side of the pot, making sure that the soil is settling into the actual roots. Now, one thing that I would suggest too is if you're able to get the Classy Rabbit soil conditioner, you can mix it on your soil to really give it even more nutrients. The thing about overseas import plants is you really want to give it the best environment, whether it's the soil, so use Classy Rabbit soil, the planter that you're using, the lighting conditions. So when you have newly potted up Aglaonema, for instance, you want to put them in gentle light, so bright indirect light, and then make sure you're not overwatering them. So after I water them with the nutrient solution, I will make sure that the soil dries out completely. So I probably will not water these Aglaonema for a good week and a half to 2 weeks after potting up these plants. That's just really important because the roots need to establish into the soil, but you also don't want to keep the soil soggy. The great thing about Classy Rabbit soil though is it dries out fairly quickly. It does retain moisture, but at the same time, it's not going to be soggy soil. So that's a reason why I love it, and I think that everybody should definitely invest or at least try Classy Rabbit soil. Now this one right here is the Aglaonema bamboo. It's gotten a little bit leggy, but what I'm gonna do is actually separate these little baby pups from the big mother plant and then pot it up to where I can get a separate plant here. So we're going to go ahead and take a pair of scissors and separate it. So one thing I'm going to tell you is once you chop up the plants, wherever you make that incision, I would utilize using cinnamon powder to heal the cut, because I am potting these up in a substrate that has like rabbit manure, so you don't really want to make sure that it's rotting or anything like that. So I'm taking some cinnamon powder. It's a natural antibacterial. It'll actually dry up the cut fairly quickly, and there you go. So that's one way of propagating Aglaonema. If you have little baby pups, you can separate them. But since that Aglaonema has gotten a little bit leggy, I'm definitely gonna plant that further into the pot. And you can see I could get 3 Aglaonemas, but what I want to do with this Aglaonema bamboo is put all of the little babies, the 2 babies, into one 3.5 inch modern terracotta planter. That is kind of exciting that I was able to at least get another bonus plant from GreenspacesID, because I was able to propagate it, and that's easy propagation for Aglaonema. And plant foldies, as you notice, while I pot up these Aglaonema, a couple of themes happen. Number one, I'm potting them up further into the pot because some of them have lost some leaves, so I don't want it to be nearly as leggy. So I'm going to pot them further into the pot. And then you'll notice that there are a couple of Aglaonema that have some yellowing leaves. I want to stress that that is normal whenever you see that from import plants. Now, obviously, you want to see plants that doesn't have yellowing leaves, but if you see it, don't panic because those leaves are eventually going to fall off the plant. But once the plant actually establishes, especially if you're using high quality soil like Classy Rabbit soil, you will get new growth and those yellow leaves won't really be bothersome because they'll disappear. But again, the amount of stress that these plants have gone through, you know, traveling at least 10,000 miles to the other side of the world to get to the United States. It is impressive. I will say that, you know, GreenspacesID, if you have never thought about getting plants from overseas and are feeling a little bit adventurous, I would definitely recommend trying it. There are plants that ship better than others. My experience is Aglaonema ship fairly well. Other factors that you have to consider too is the time of the year in which you buy plants from GreenspacesID. I would definitely not buy them during the cold winter months because, you know, the plants have to go from air cargo all the way to New Jersey, which is where the broker is located. And New Jersey with snow, cold weather, it's not the best environment to be getting plants from overseas. And then for me, actually ordering any plants from overseas in the hot Texas summer where, you know, 100+ degree weather, because when the plants are actually shipped from the broker, they use USPS and you don't want your plants to be sitting in a very hot truck. So I'm just trying to give you guys some more insights. Other things that I would also consider is if you are wanting to buy plants from GreenspacesID, you could probably get several friends that may want to get plants. That way you guys can actually combine the shipping. You'll save some more money. So the next step is just me making nutrient water solution. So I'm taking a gallon container and I'm using this Protect silica solution with Super Thrive, and I'm just using a tablespoon and a half into the gallon water. And then what I'm going to do is just use a cap full of Super Thrive, and that is basically it. Again, this is the same nutrient water that I use to actually rehydrate the plants. I like using Super Thrive because it really does do wonders for a plant that is stressed. You can see right over here, you can pretty much buy Super Thrive at any big box store or even go shopping on Amazon. The Protect silica solution, you can do a search on Amazon and order that as well. I live by this nutrient solution water because it does rehydrate. It actually gets the cells of the plants going, and the B vitamin actually helps the plants establish. So once I make my nutrient solution water, the next step is literally just watering the plants, and then I'm gonna just give you some of my final insights. But for now, just go ahead and watch this next step right here. What I like to do is actually water the terracotta planter all the way through, even the sides of the pot, with just the regular water first. And you'll notice, plant folies, take a look at this. Look at how fast draining Classy Rabbit soil is, and that's really a good universal soil. You know, in terms of plants that are from overseas, definitely use Classy Rabbit soil because look at that. Look at how fast draining it is. I use it for even my bonsai mix and just all. it's just an all-around great soil. I can't tell you how much I love Classy Rabbit soil. And now you can see that I am just watering the nutrient solution. So one thing I also wanted to mention is I mix a little bit of the mosquito bits water, infused water. Basically, I take mosquito bits and let it just sit in water, and I actually mix that into the planter because mosquito bit water will actually kill any potential fungus gnat eggs. So as you can see right here, this is another way of pest preventatives. Whenever you're using like soil substrates, it is normal, and I tell this to everybody, it is normal to see some fungus gnats. It is all about making sure that your environment is there to prevent any fungus gnat infestations with just any soils. Some soils are a little bit more susceptible to others in inviting fungus gnats, but if you are using diatomaceous earth, if you are using mosquito bit water, I know that Classy Rabbit has a new product that's going to be released called Slashy Rabbit, which kills fungus gnats. So check out the website and see that. But you can see right here, I will just be repeating the process of using my regular water to just soak up the soil, and you can just see how fast this Classy Rabbit soil really drains, and that's very important, especially for plants that are stressed and just have been potted up. You don't want the roots to really sit in very like soggy soil. You want it to be fast draining, but at the same time be able to have really rich nutrients, which is what Classy Rabbit soil has. And you can see right here, these are my first two set of Aglaonema. I can assume to you that this one, lighter leaf Aglaonema will eventually lose the yellowing leaf. I kind of expected that, but hopefully once it establishes, it'll push out some new growth. And then I'm using We the Wild Protect Neem Oil Spray. So this is just to add a extra layer of protection from any potential plant pests like mealy bugs and thrifts specifically. It also has a great scent to it, and what I love about We the Wild neem oil spray is it is 100% organic as well. So I love We the Wild. That's another plant product I would recommend. You can buy that Target right now, and I believe it is on sale from when I created this video. And you can see right here my next Aglaonema. I'm using that modern terracotta planter that I bought from Walmart. Like I said, again, I am in my terracotta planter phase because I love, modern aesthetics. And I just think that, terracotta planters are a classic. I love the ones that don't have a bevel. So it's got more of just a smooth shape. And you can see right here, plant foldies, look at how fast Classy Rabbit soil just drains. It is one of the highest quality soils you can get. In the Dallas-Fort Worth area, more and more local nurseries are actually carrying it. But if you don't live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you can always shop classyrabbit.com. Follow them on Instagram as well, classyrabbit.com. But you can see right here, these newly potted Aglaonema are just being watered with nutrient solution. Again, plant foldies watching this video, this is a comprehensive potting up video on what to do with your imported plants from overseas, how to acclimate them, what to expect, and just the process of potting up these plants. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I did want to show you a demonstration. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this type of content, and if you can, and if you made it this far, first of all, thank you so much for watching all the way through. At some point, please make sure that you are pressing the thumbs up or like button for this video, and the update for these plants, which I will do a 12-day or maybe 14-day update after this video premieres on my YouTube membership tier. I really urge anybody that wants to see more of my personal plant collection, my house plant tour, to join the YouTube membership tier. It's only for $2.99. It's literally the price of a cup of coffee. And then you can see right here, my favorite one right here, then Aglaonema Lotus Delight. This one just ships so perfectly, and it is one of the more harder Aglaonema to take care of, but hopefully with Classy Rabbit soil, this will eventually establish and push out some beautiful pink leaves. So let's continue to water these plants, and then I'm going to show you some close-ups. Now that I have watered all of my plants, the jumbo Aglaonema I had to water in my actual shower because I didn't want my sink falling over. But you can see right here, now I will be showing you all of the beautiful Aglaonema. This is the Aglaonema Golden Boy. I really love the pink cream coloration on this. Hopefully this plant will establish. The roots weren't necessarily the best roots, but hopefully with the shallow terracotta planter I use, it's going to do very well and eventually establish. Again, you know, in terms of Aglaonema, I love them for the fact that they're not the most trending plant, but hopefully with more exposure and just being able to show the plant foldy community and the plant community all of the beautiful varieties, more people will get into them. You can see right here, this is the Aglaonema Legacy Multi-Tiara. Really love the look of it, and you can see that it's got some random red veining. You know, as far as all of the Aglaonema, each one has its unique features. Some people will say Aglaonema look very similar. I do agree some of them do, but when you start looking at some of the nuances, some Aglaonema have like rounder leaves, more narrow leaves. Some of them are a little bit more compact. Some of them really have that beautiful striping like this Aglaonema Red Army. And you know, Aglaonema Red Army tends to be a little bit more of a finicky plant in terms of shipping, even in the United States where I've gotten Aglaonema Red Army. Sometimes they don't ship as well. So for this one to travel 10,000 miles, hopefully it will establish and develop, and I'm really confident that these plants will. Again, because of classy rabbit soil, it is really important. I cannot stress to you enough, especially when it comes to plants from overseas, to make sure that you're putting them in a really good substrate. If you're going to use soil, use classy rabbit. So I'm just going to show you all of the Aglaonema and the beautiful terracotta planters. Feel free to leave in the comments section what you think of my plants, what you think of my process, and if you have any questions, leave them because I will definitely respond. I have to ask the viewers that are watching this video, which Aglaonema is your favorite and why? Leave that in the comments section, because this Aglaonema, for instance, is one of my favorites. Look at how beautiful the leaves are. I love the larger, rounder leaves, also the veining of the plant. So many different varieties, you know, in terms of GreenspacesID. Definitely follow them on Instagram. Check out their website, and you can even send them a direct message, because a lot of the Aglaonema I'm featuring are actually not on their website. But if you have questions about Aglaonema, if you want to acquire Aglaonema, definitely send GreenspacesID a message on Instagram. They are quick to respond. I know that a couple of plant foldies have placed orders. Hopefully your plants are doing well. Don't be discouraged if some of your plants end up declining in health. That is normal. It's part of the acclimation period, and sometimes some plants make it to plant heaven, they just don't make it, and that's not necessarily GreenspacesID's fault. It's just the circumstance in which the plant is placed in. But you know, the Aglaonema that I receive from them are super healthy. I got them for such amazing prices, so I am so thankful that I have a really good relationship with GreenspacesID. They always give me the best pricing, and their communication is impeccable. And like I said, again, for those that have never tried overseas plants, try it with GreenspacesID. And you know, this one right here, again, is a more uncommon white big leaf plant of an Aglaonema. You can just see on the right hand though that this plant right there, it has some yellowing leaf, and that leaf will eventually die off. And then you can just see more beautiful plants here. Let me know in the comment section what you think, and if you felt that this potting up video gave you some insights about classy rabbit soil, as well as the acclimation period for these plants from overseas. I can't wait to show you at the very end what all of these Aglaonema look together. It's fun to collect Aglaonema. At this point, when you guys ask me how many I have in my collection, I probably have more than 100 at this point, and I just can't stop myself from getting Aglaonema. You could say that my plant addiction is literally Aglaonema, because if I see one that I don't have, I will end up just buying it because I just don't have it. But how do you not buy a plant like this? All of the beautiful Aglaonema I've shown you, the colors are great. They're easy to care for. You know, they're an uncommon plant in a sense that they're not necessarily the popular plant or the trending plant. But what I can tell you about Aglaonema is they're very consistent plants. They don't require a lot. You just have to water the soil when it's completely dry. Make sure you put them in fast draining, chunky soil, such as Classy Rabbit. And they do the best when you plant them in terracotta planters, because terracotta planters don't hold that much moisture. And you can see right here, look at this Aglaonema Big Papa, love it as well. And then you can see this is an example of how some of the leaves have gotten a little bit yellow. Some of those leaves will eventually just go to plant heaven, but you can even see that there are active growth coming from these plants from GreenspacesID. This is that Aglaonema Green Giovanna, and then this is the Aglaonema Deja Vu, which I am a sucker for pink plants, but this one right here was one of the jumbo ones that they sent me. Some of the leaves have turned a little bit more yellow, even more so in the last 4 days, but hopefully now that it's in a soil substrate and once the plant settles, I will see new growth, and hopefully it will do some recovering. I would say out of all my Aglaonema from this haul, this one is probably the most yellow or least acclimated of all of them. But you know, to think that the Aglaonema Lotus Delight, which is probably the hardest of all the Aglaonema I've shown you in this plant haul to take care of, this one shipped perfectly, and I'm hoping that this plant will establish well in Classy Rabbit soil. It does have that mycorrhizae and it's fast draining, and it's just a beautiful plant. I mean, most people would think that the colors of this is a little jarring. To me, it's absolutely stunning. And I hope that everybody is able to acquire an Aglaonema Lotus Delight. It is a hybrid created by the late Greg Hambali, which is a famous Indonesian hybridizer. And then now you can see that all of the plants are put together, and this is just a sight to behold. Feel free to let me know in the comment section what you think. And again, if you have any questions about the importing or purchase process from GreenspacesID, let me know in the comment section. But let's go ahead and enjoy the beautiful Aglaonema that are now potted up after 4 days of being in nutrient solution. And I just wanted to take the time to just show you all of the Aglaonema bunched up together. They just look stunning. All of the different colors, all of the different leaf textures and shapes. And, you know, for the most part, for these plants to travel 10,000 miles from Indonesia to North Dallas, I'm super impressed with not only their packaging, the health of the plant, the selection of the plants, also the pricing of the plants, but more so the customer service and communication. That's one thing that I do love about GreenspacesID. You can get in touch with them pretty quickly by sending them a direct message. They're very communicative, and I love the fact that they are going to be really honest if they have plants that may not necessarily ship well. I really appreciated the fact that there were 2 Aglaonema that didn't have the best roots. They sent me other alternatives in terms of what other Aglaonema I could choose, and that to me is great customer service. It really just builds trust with not only the buyer but also the seller. And for me, you know, some people might have their opinions about GreenspacesID, but for me, it brings me joy to be able to highlight an international vendor that is very consistent and has always been kind to me. I always say, creating these unboxing videos, these potting up videos, it's my way to show appreciation for the hard work for those that actually took the time to prepare these plants, to source these plants out, to ship them to me. So I really wanted to say thank you so much to GreenspacesID for really getting me the opportunity to get a lot of these Aglaonema. It really has grown my collection. I feel like my platform on social media is growing because of my love for Aglaonema, and maybe, just maybe, we can hashtag popularize Aglaonema with more of these varieties being shown to the US market. I don't know, let me know in the comment section what you think, but I really have enjoyed showing you the process of using Classy Rabbit soil to pot up these Aglaonema and just giving you my thoughts about it. I am really excited to show you what these plants will do in the next 2 weeks and maybe in the next 90 days. In the next 3 months, we'll see what happens, but just know this is not the last of my Aglaonema hauls. I will be adding even more so, and I even found another Indonesian seller that can actually get me some really uncommon and rare Aglaonema. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video today. Plant foldies, you guys are the best. Super plant foldies, thank you so much. And one thing I did want to point out, and yes, I'm being a little commercial, but if you do want to send a super sticker, which is a monetary tip for a YouTube content creator, you can do so by pressing the $ icon on the bottom right hand of your screen. You can enter any amount. Any amount is highly appreciated. Obviously, don't feel obligated to do so, but I do want to put it out there for anybody that wants to send a little bit more support, because while these plants were cost effective, getting all of these plants is a little bit pricey, but I do it for myself and I do it for the plant foldies to show you beautiful Aglaonema like this Aglaonema Lotus Delight. This is the queen of all the Aglaonemas I have so far. Someday I will get the Aglaonema Crown of Siam, but wait till you see some of my other Aglaonema that I will be getting in the next couple weeks. Let me know in the comment section again, plant foldies, what y'all think. And as far as the Classy Rabbit soil, like I said again, go to classyrabbit.com. That is such a versatile soil. It is a very consistent soil. That is the only soil I will use on my plants moving forward because it has given me really good results, especially with my plants from overseas. But anyways, what do y'all think of my Aglaonema plant foldies? As I wrap up my relaxing plant chores of potting up these plants from GreenspacesID, you can only imagine how much I have in terms of my plant collection. Again, if you would consider joining my YouTube membership tier, that would be awesome. Please shop GreenspacesID. Highly recommend them because, I mean, you can see right here, my plants are amazing. And as always, my name is Richie of GrowFolds. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already with all the notification bell on. I'll see you on the next one.